Good morning from Plantersville. It is good to see y'all this way this morning, and I hope you're doing well. Turn to Job chapter 33, and we'll begin reading in verse 23, and we'll read down to verse 30. So I give you a minute to get there while I say a couple of things. Number one, I don't know of anyone in the church that is sick or doing badly. Everybody seems to be well. Everybody seems to be okay. Tolerating this quarantine, the stay in, and staying away from people. I'm praying that it's working. I hope that's working, and hopefully we will see some results from that soon. So y'all hang tough with that. Secondly, I don't know how I look to you this morning, but if I look a little tired to you this morning, I had a rough workout this morning. I did a new one. 20-minute workout, and the guy on the video just about killed me. So I am sore and stiff and moving like an old man. So I'll go ahead and warn Karen now, this is probably going to be an Advil night when I get home. So if I seem a little off today, it's because of that. And I know if my brother's watching this, he's going to say, "You've been off a long time, little brother." So I already heard you. So anyway, with all that said, I hope you're having a good day, and I hope this is going to help you. In Job chapter 33 and verse 23, we see that Elihu is rebuking Job, and we won't go into all the details of why Job is in this situation, but just take it for what it's worth. I want you to listen to what he says, starting in verse 23. If there be for him an angel, and remember he's talking to Job, if there be for him an angel, a mediator, one of the 1,000, to declare to man what is right for him, and he is merciful to him and says, "Deliver him from going down into the pit. I have found a ransom. Let his flesh become fresh with youth. Let him return to the days of his youthful vigor." Then man prays to God, and he accepts him. He sees his face with a shout of joy, and he restores a man to his righteousness. He sings before men and says, "I have sinned and perverted what was right, and it was not repaid to me. For he has redeemed my soul from going down into the pit, and my life shall look upon the light. Behold, God does all these things, twice, 3 times with a man, to bring back his soul from the pit, that he may be lighted with the light of life." Now, one of the things about Job is that, or the book of Job, is that they at that time had this philosophy that a man's sin brought suffering and destruction upon himself, and sometimes it does with consequences, but not all the time. So Elihu was going with this philosophy, and he was giving Job the business here a little bit. And you got to understand, I don't know what you know about the book of Job or what you remember about the book of Job, but it is the second oldest book in the Bible behind Genesis, and it is the first poetic book of the Bible in the Hebrew Bible. And it's also, depending on who you depend on as your resource, some people believe it was the first book written before Genesis because it was in that same time frame as Genesis was written, or as I believe it was the second book written, because we had to start somewhere, and Genesis is the beginning. So it seems to me that makes sense that Job was the second book of the Bible written. But anyway, it's behind Genesis. It's the oldest book in the Bible. So it's been around a long time. There's wisdom in these verses. And I'm starting to sense, just listening to people when I talk to them, listening to things on TV, not many things, but listening to people that are dealing with the virus situation that we're in, is that we've been in it now for a few weeks, few days, and we've kind of got used to the new routine of being sheltered and staying in, and I'm starting to hear a little bit of desperation in people's voices. I don't know what that means, but I do know these 3 things I'm about to tell you. When you look here at what Elihu was trying to tell Job, he actually tells him some important stuff. And he tells him what you can do when there's nothing else to do. And we're getting there in that situation. What else are we going to be able to do when there's nothing else to do, because we don't know when this thing is going to end. We don't know when we're going to get back to any kind of normal. I was reading some news reports yesterday that some people are waiting on the college football people to make a decision as to when the season will start. And we know here in the South that that is a very important season to a lot of people. Let me just tell you, it's a lousy God, but it is a great activity for the South. And people are starting to wonder, is there going to be college football? And the people that are so entwined in that and so wired to that, they're starting to get a little desperate because they don't know what's going to happen. Some are speculating that it will start on time. It'll be a normal season, maybe not fans in the seats at the beginning, but maybe by the end of the normal season, they'll be going and it'll be back to normal, but there's no promises on that. So there's also this movement of people thinking the season's going to start in October and be kind of spaced out and go into the winter and possibly the early spring. There's all kinds of scenarios with this. So there's starting to be some desperate things being talked about because we don't know when this is going to end. But let me tell you 3 things that you can use today and every day that will help you get through this crisis. And the first one's in verse 26. You need to find God's favor. He says in verse 26, then man prays to God and he accepts him. When God accepts you, that's his favor. So look for that. Secondly, find the joy of God. You'll notice that man prays to God in verse 26. He accepts him and he sees his face with a shout of joy, and he restores to man his righteousness. He sings before men. That's joyful. We're supposed to make a joyful noise to the Lord according to Psalm 100. So when we sing and when our hearts produce song and it produces praise, that's joyful. There's a difference between joy and happiness. Christians are defined, or should be defined, by their joy. The joy of the Lord is my strength. I've got the joy down in my heart. Those kind of things. And then thirdly, in the latter verses of what I just read, in verse 28, it says, he redeemed my soul from going down into the pit. I'm sensing that some people are struggling and sliding a little bit. We need to keep our eyes on the Lord. And when we keep our eyes on the Lord and we find his favor and we find his joy, then he restores us. He has redeemed my soul from going into the pit, and my life shall look upon the light. That's what we need to do, and I hope you will do that today. Find his favor, find his joy, find his restoration. 3 things that you can do today that will keep you active before the Lord and help you today. So have a great day. We will see you tomorrow. Let me remind you that tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on Facebook Live, if you go to our church page, you will find our prayer meeting, and we will be going live and praying for folks. So hope you'll join us then. But y'all have a good day today. If you need anything, holler at us, get in touch with us some way, and we'll come running if we can. So God bless you. See you later.